it's the ArtzDeeva, and welcome to the first ever Sketchbook Tour. Now, I am really excited to share this journal with you guys. This is the one I've been talking about from concept development class. It was all handmade, handcrafted, just out of bits of cardboard and various types of sketchbook paper, and sewn together to make my sketchbook for the class. And concept development class, again, like I've talked about, was more a graphic design class, but I was still able to explore a lot of different kinds of things with this, including more of, my cup of tea, which is illustrative / narrative / animation-like stuff. So, we are going to take a look. First off, let's dissect this cover here. So, at the time that I made this, I was all about fandoms. I love so many different kinds of books, movies, and TV shows and everything like that. And so what I did with my cover, instead of having it be simply black, was I added, at the time, all of my big, favorite, important fandoms, and a lot of them still are, although this was definitely, this was done in between 2015 and 2016 during the winter quarter, so this was definitely before some new fandoms would enter my life. Death Note. My fandoms at the time was Portal. I still love Portal so much. Both games are just amazing. The One Ring in here for Lord of the Rings. 221B's obviously Sherlock. TARDIS down there for Doctor Who. And this was just a green Celtic knot that stood for Merlin. Merlin unfortunately doesn't really have any symbols or iconic images like Sherlock or Doctor Who to identify it, so I just gave it that. And then, obviously, these stickers are for the Houses of Hogwarts, since I am a Harry Potter child. And then on the back was just a sticker from our ArtzDeeva program, which is Design Interactive Media Arts. Yes. Sorry I stumbled on that. Anyway, let's take a look, shall we? And I gotta be careful, this journal is falling apart. It's never been the most stable one, so I gotta treat it carefully as I can. And I won't go through this completely in order because I didn't draw some of these pages from beginning to end. A lot of it was just skipping around, so we'll just take a look at some of the things I did. These were all based on different kinds of prompts, a lot of which I don't remember anymore. This was watercolor. Okay, now this one was a collage. I don't remember what the prompt was, but I made it all about, the struggles of sexism and trying, for equal pay between men and women, being seen as equals and treated as equals, and not, any different just because of our gender or anything like that. I really liked this one. Ah yes, this was a cool entry. I believe I made it about everything you need to know about me in 20 words, and I'd say about, 3 to 2 years from then, a lot of these still are pretty true. I am still very artsy, nerdy, creative, everything like that. And of course I used Portal colors because, well, Portal, why not? And speaking of more Portal, this was a cool thing that I did where I wrote down the 2 different songs that Gladys sings and made This Page Is Still Alive with one main quote and a drawing of her there. And this one was from Want You Gone. I just really like how it looks, especially with I used metallic markers, and especially on the black page and with the kind of pose that I got her in, and of course it's a human personification of Gladys. But yeah, I just really, really loved these entries, and I really want to make more stuff like this. This one for later, because that's one of the best. Okay, now this one is a piece about, I don't remember the prompt either, again, but this one I made kind of exploring a bit of faith, because I happen to come from a family where both sides of the family have had a lot of fundamentalist Christian crap going on, and so the concepts of faith and religion have just always kind of been a little bit painful to me. And especially at the time here, it was a lot more painful then than it is now. And it took a lot of courage opening up about it in here. But this was kind of a struggle of, I did this whole spiral with lots of mandalas, and I broke up, it was a picture of a painting of Jesus from a magazine. I think it was one of those, education set magazines. And so I just kind of split pieces of him up all around the mandalas and just had this swirl, and I meant it to be something like, is it a downward spiral away from God, or is it an upward spiral towards him? I'm at a much better place spiritually, but like I always had like just nothing but negative, fearful feelings from some of the experiences I had, and I just kind of wondered at that point, like, will I reach any understanding or balance myself personally? Yeah, this was a kind of deep piece, but it's one of my favorites even still. This is a nice one. This was an illustration of the Emily Dickinson poem, I'm Nobody. This one I really liked. I just kind of had a simple idea for how it would be illustrated, and I really like how it turned out. Just a quaint little entry. There's a self-portrait, just a weird tree made of paint chips, because I collect paint chips. Rooms, furniture, my fears at the time, which some of them have changed while others have not. This one is a pretty pivotal one because my family, we used to be military and we were stationed, our last stationing was in Vegas. So I have almost two different versions of Vegas that we lived in for quite a bit, because we were out near the desert, but still kind of a ways away from the city itself. For example, I had one image of Vegas, which was the desert, which had mountains, rocks, canyon trails, lots of long drives, and I got so bored of seeing nothing but brown mountains. I really didn't appreciate the desert back then, and now part of me wants to go back just for the mountains and everything, but I don't know, I don't care for Vegas. If I ever went back there to see like the mountains or something else that I'll mention here, it would only be literally for like a day, and then I'd be headed back home at night. That was kind of one image of Vegas I had, and then whenever we did visit the city, obviously there were casinos, and granted, again, I was a little kid, so this was not the most family-friendly place to live in. So there were lots of casinos, lots of strangers, and smoking, tall, strange buildings everywhere, lots of adult stuff. It was just very packed and busy. And one of my biggest creative inspirations, Cirque du Soleil, we never watched any of their shows there while we lived in Vegas, and I kind of looked upon them back then through the eyes of a child, kind of with fear, kind of with interest. That would eventually turn into good, healthy interest, but for a little while I was a little nervous about what they did. This was one of my favorite entries, and my class loved this. Two completely opposite reactions. This one is obviously from the shower scene in Psycho, and this is Andy Dwyer, and this was actually before I started watching Parks and Rec, so I had no idea what hilarity and joy I was in for with that. This one kind of illustrated how I discovered Brahms' The Plucker. It was just this big giant book jutting out in the shelves in the library, and I was completely taken away the minute I started reading it, and I won't go into specifics, but these were just some kind of story drawings I did of some of the characters, plot points, and situations. This one is my favorite, and whenever I make a movie out of this will be a perfect scene. Jack Angel. God, I haven't looked at these in years. These are actually not too bad. From like 2015. Lots of cool stuff. Very awesome. Cool, that was fun to revisit too. Again, like, I haven't looked at this journal in quite a while, and some of these entries I don't even remember. There's this one. Confessions of Things I Hate. It's already making me unpopular. I did not enjoy my audio class because, let's just say, the textbook was really only good for people who already had a good understanding of how audio worked, and it just was not a fun class or experience. I hate River's song from Doctor Who. I hate Olicity and Jelsa. Now, Olicity, I don't even like Arrow, but at the time that I was making this journal, my brother was just eating up Arrow. It was like one of his favorite shows, and so often I'd just be drawing and I'd happen to sit down on some episodes, and the thing was, I enjoyed Felicity's character just mildly until they started shipping her with Oliver Queen, and I hate fan service. I hate things that aren't meant to be. It just drove me nuts, and just obviously, if you've seen article number 1, you'll kind of understand why I'm not a big fan of this ship. Lots of artists will be like, I'm not political, or I don't try to get political, and I swear I won't get political a whole lot, but I am human, and I do happen to be kind of political, so there's that. Of course, one of my biggest hates is Wuthering Heights. I don't care what anyone says, no one can convince me that that is actually a good book. Why in the world would you like it? There's lots of empty pages and lots of stuff I didn't do. Oh, here's another Portal thing. Amazing. There was this pastel version of the Scream that I did. It's pretty nice. This was just a demonstration of, the bouncing ball animation. This is all about perfectionism, and the ironic thing was, to illustrate this whole point with perfectionism, I made myself draw everything with a pen with no pencil tracings, and so I literally could not take back any bad lines I had, and obviously at this point of development I was not very confident in my line work, so this is just a very humorous and I'm sure relatable kind of entry we can all relate to. This is based off of a childhood game that me and my sister would play. There's so much history, I can't even talk about it right now, but it just involved putting our stuffed animals in cardboard boxes with plastic play food and little quilts and sending them off from Greenland to Antarctica to escape the police for some reason. I don't even know. There's this entry, which this guy was inspired from a stranger I saw when we were driving back home one night, and it was very dark. I'm sure it was just a normal person walking under the street lamp, but that is literally what he looked like. And so I just kind of made this weird thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be a monster hunting kind of deal, or I don't even know what it's supposed to be. If I remember correctly, this prompt is supposed to be about an episode of a show that will never happen, or like an episode that will never happen. So I made it be a Doctor Who crossover with Portal, obviously. So it would basically just be where somehow Jethro was involved, because we all know that he totally would have been a companion of the Doctor's if Midnight had gone alright. But it basically just involves the Doctor rescuing Wheatley and Shell from the clutches of GLaDOS, and of course at the time Clara would have been his companion. And this is one of my favorite entries. I know it's ridiculous, I know it's old, I know it's Jim Carrey, but I have a fond affection for The Mask, and so I just paused at several points during one of my favorite scenes from the movie, the dance scene, and just drew them and placed various poses of them all over the page. Let's see, we've got a couple before we reach the good ones. Okay, so this one was like, around this time, I finally realized that I wanted to do animation, and to give you some perspective, I thought all my life I was going to be a singer in a band, because I sang all the time when I was little, I still do, and I thought, well, everyone likes it, I'm just going to do that. But then I woke up one day in the summer of 2012, and I realized that's not my dream anymore, and I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So I spent like 3 years just kind of mentally meandering, my passions, what I like to do, and I realized I wanted to do animation, but the animation classes kept getting canceled all the time. So after the millionth time of the first animation class getting canceled, I just kind of drew this for hope. Obviously Jack Frost is there, because at that time I discovered Rise of the Guardians, one of my biggest animation loves. So there's that, and this is another Portal-themed entry with one of my favorite quotes from the second game. I just love the defiance to death that Cave Johnson has. We should be getting to the good stuff now. Because there's a couple entries in here that are kind of okay, but there's not really anything going on, so let's just let's hit the goods now, shall we? So first, here is a nice yarn bookmark here. This is a Cirque du Soleil entry, and at the time that I took this class, I was on DeviantArt, of course, as every young artist is, and I was making, you could say it was like a fanfic, except I wasn't writing, I was just illustrating kind of a story I was making up with the Cirque characters, and the challenge I gave myself was there could be no words. I could make like voice bubbles that had pictures that described what they were talking about, but it was just an exercise because I love Cirque du Soleil. They came at a time when I was still figuring out what I wanted to do, and just the creativity and everything that goes behind the shows is amazing. And this character is my muse. The Baron is awesome. So yeah, this was kind of showing some of the main casts for that fan art kind of thing I was doing. I keep thinking back on it, and even now, I still kind of revise bits of the story, so who knows, I might go back to that kind of original idea I had. At the very least, I want to make some more Cirque du Soleil fan art, for sure, because I used to do a lot of it on Instagram, but I haven't been doing so much anymore. Alright, and now, the moment you've all been waiting for. This entry was all about dreams, and the minute I saw that it was about dreams, I knew exactly what I had to do, but because I knew it would take forever and ever, I decided to save it for last. So, first off, this is your invitation to the Rabbit Hole Oscars. Basically, all the dreams I've had, and again, I'm going to be starting a series of animations and animatics based on my dreams, so all of the stuff illustrated in here will make sense in the future, I promise. Just hang in there. So, we have the red carpet walk of fame of my dreams. We have people like my family, of course. Again, this was back in 2015, 2016, so there's a lot more people now. Ryan Reynolds, there's some Cirque du Soleil characters, the Doctor, Joker, which that was an interesting dream I'll tell you about, Bilbo Baggins, just kind of a general list of, at the time, some of the important or notable people who had been in my dreams. But as I think I've explained in a couple other videos, this was the entry where I did layers and layers, because like my dreams, this entry has layers of information. So, let's open up, shall we? So these are all memorable moments. Some of them I won't explain right now because it'll take too long, and some of them will actually get animatics and animations. This is the dream that had the Joker in it. I promise I will explain. It was just so weird, oh my god. Then on this side we have, again, the Baron. He showed up a lot in my dreams when I was still figuring out what I wanted to do, and so in that way that's kind of how I feel like he's a bit of a muse figure. This dream you'll see eventually, with just the basics was somehow like Ellie Goulding was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and Loki kidnapped her and Bilbo Baggins and I had to rescue her. I will leave that for a future animation to explain. This has one with the MC from Cabaret. Again, that one will also make better sense later on. This dream is actually very important, and I can't go into specifics with it right now, but it's actually going to become a big concept of mine, something I want to eventually turn into an animated feature film. So, this is very important. This is a weird first man kind of dream. So, there's that layer, and then... okay, I forgot how everything works and how stuff opens. These are notable dream kind of things. Like with this, I used to have a lot of overpriced dreams where literally everything I tried buying was overpriced. This dream will be the first one to get an animatic, and I'm actually working on storyboarding that one right now, so look forward to that. It'll totally make sense. Lots of other things. I used to have a lot of Saving the World dreams, and it was usually with Bilbo Baggins, but of course there was that one exception with Cabaret. Oh, Joker. That kind of explains the awkwardness. I can't even defend myself from that one. Okay, moving on to the last layer. Some of the notable characters in my dreams, and that was me in my first collected Harley cosplay that I kind of made from scratch and also assembled with important characters, including, again, there's the Baron. That's my sister. She was with Freddy Krueger. Jethro, he only showed up once or twice. Bilbo Baggins, who I saved the world with. MC, with a lot of interesting stuff. One cringy dream with Riddler. The one dream with Joker. And of course, Loki, because of that one dream I mentioned earlier. But anyway, yeah, that's the whole chaotic, crazy... Oh, wait! There's another layer. So, behind this one, these are just kind of some main locations, and I kind of came up with a bit of a soundtrack to my dreams. Les Mis, I was in a production of Les Miserables many years ago. I shared the role of Fantine with my sister, so I used to have a lot of dreams, obviously, where we'd all be rehearsing for Les Mis. Lots of these bands, U2 Erasure and Culture Club, because they were bands I obsessed over. Oh my god, not Cabaret. Don't worry, I genuinely like that musical, but just the memories I have with the dreams and everything. Some of these I don't know why they're on there, but they just make sense. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of a taste of the many layers of that one awesome dream entry. I just went full blown with my creativity. I pulled all the stops. I'm like, we're gonna pack this so full with most of the dreams that I had at the time. It's gonna be bursting, and it literally is like one of the biggest. You can see this whole thing is bulging, but it's like one of the first things that this journal opens up to. But anyway, yeah, that's just kind of the journal that I made, and honestly, this is one of my favorite journals that I've made, and I feel like this was the one, this really was the start of me pushing myself as an artist, expressing what I loved, exploring different concepts and different aspects of my own personality, and just really seeing what I could do. I love looking back at this a whole lot, and I want to make more journal entries like this in some of my other sketchbooks. I fear I've gotten less creative with some of my sketchbooks, so I'll just look back to this for inspiration to always, maybe see where you can go, push it a little farther. I should also mention, right at the back here, at the end of our concept development class, we ended up creating, it was called the Man-Eater's Manifesto. There used to be 5 of us in the class. It was very small. It was like 4 girls and 1 guy, but he eventually just kind of disappeared, so we just called it the Man-Eater's Manifesto, and we just had to come up with 100 rules to live and design by. Honestly, a lot of these rules are very good for just learning to design better and even just live better as a creator and just, a human being. So yeah, this is the end of this sketchbook tour, and I'm definitely glad to have shared this with you. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked what you saw today, send a like, maybe consider subscribing, and if you've had any notable sketchbook experiences, let me know in the comments below. Talk about the kind of things you like doing with your sketchbooks. So, that's all for this sketchbook tour, and that's all for now. ArtzDeeva over and out.